So here's the name of the game today. I am recording this. I won't distribute any of this, but it could be good nostalgia. So what we'll do is we'll really go founder by founder and spend 10 minutes or so. The first couple minutes will be your pitch to the team. We'll have Ask Me go first. We'll have Jordan go, Nikki, Max, Jeff, and Tony. All right, Asni, take it away.
Okay, so my name is Asni Fernando, and my startup is called Shoptaki, and what we're trying to build is basically the next evolution of distributed technology that deals with collaborative AI and quantum-resistant security. And just to let you know, this is not a blockchain technology. It's something completely different in regards to being more dynamic and fluid. So what we're trying to solve is basically in the financial industry, banks, capital markets, and other financial institutions tends to be more fragmented, especially when it comes to compliance, remittance, KYC, you name it. And usually this is like a manual, tedious process that could take around 24 hours to 3+ business days or even longer, just because of the manual aspect and the fact that if they make a mistake, it's a huge penalties and all that. So this is where our technology, which I like to call Smart Chain, comes into place, where we're doing all these different processes in parallel, each AI agent having its own task and purpose. So instead of waiting 3 business days, it takes seconds. And this will reduce the overhead cost of the operational, as well as the risk side as well. And currently, I just got accepted to a new chip accelerator, as well as getting a friends and family funding. So that's basically it.
So Victor, good to hear from you again. Great summary. Just very simply, I know you've kind of briefly covered this right now, but based on understanding, what do you really think? Because you said you're building this almost like this Swiss Army knife. What do you think is, if let's say, we were break this down into 12-month cycles, what are we focusing on in the next 3 months in terms of go-to-market where we can get the most traction? Because like anything, it's a matter, like in any incubator program, we got to find the low-hanging fruit. What do we think is a low-hanging fruit from a market opportunity?
That's a good question. I mean, I would say mostly on the remittance and the basic, compliance aspect of it, right? Just because, right now it's not really automated. It's more on the reporting aspect. So that's basically the, I guess, like the MVP, if you're going to be saying like the 3 months.
Okay, the reporting aspect. And have you, in terms of, the product's not fully built, but when you've had exploratory dialogues with potential clients and customers, what is their appetite for what you're building? Because the only challenge with anything to do with compliance is your clients in this space don't very rarely want an MVP. They want a fully built product. So it's kind of like you have to have something that's sufficiently built. So have you identified those early bird customers or adopters?
Yes. I would say mostly in the capital markets, dealing with the stocks, bonds, and other, financial instruments. And what was surprising is that while, obviously when you're talking about, like, let's say cross-border transactions, policies tend to be a lot more complex, right? Each country and geopolitical having different policies or regulations. So what some of these companies are doing to reduce the cost is basically offshoring all that process to India, right? But still, it's a manual, tedious process, and it is a cost that has lag time. So when telling them this entire vision, besides the fact that yes, it is ambitious, there was a lot of extreme interest in this.
Okay, good. That's really helpful. So now I want to dig a little bit more deeper into this. So are you starting to say that you've already identified the need, and do you have, so let's say we accept you into the program, 3 months from now, we have a product built that works, do you have a list of clients that we can immediately get them to adopt this? We're not saying we're going to make money off of them. We're probably giving to them at cents on the dollar, but we have at least 3 to 4 clients who are ready to start using this.
Like right now, I would say, like I'm kind of like in talks with one company, and actually going to be a panelist for like the CTA Expo, which is all, you know, a community of these capital markets. But in regards to users, I'm actually in the process of working on it. I'm actually revamping my website, messaging, all the marketing. So yeah, it will take me like 2-3 weeks to get that all in place. Yeah.
Gotcha. So like just some, feedback. I mean, as I said, I'm a believer in what you're doing. If you, in the next couple of weeks, can even get 1 or 2 of those clients to sign what I call like a letter of intent. A letter of intent is not legally binding, but something to do with, I think that will go a long way in terms of, okay, we know that let's build this and we've got potentially a couple of clients ready to go.
I totally agree with you. And that's, yeah, like right now, like the whole marketing, getting that in place, and then shooting to get the LOIs. So I'm getting help with one of my financial advisors, who's a former RMB bank compliance officer, as well as a consultant who has connections with different financial sectors.
Okay. I also know that this isn't like a couple of months ago, you started sending me some emails. We're able to do, I think, what was it? Crypto trading analysis between fiat and crypto. Is that something you're still doing?
Well, I mean, I do have like the prediction of like the crypto exchange. I'm not actively focusing. Instead, I let my partner take over. I have a partner company called Binary Eon. So they're going to be dealing with the sales, marketing of the technology. So I basically licensed it to them. So once they start selling, I'll be generating revenue, and I could focus more on the smart chain technology.
Vic did a good recap in terms of, focus on the next 3 months. I think the other founders take note as you're giving your delivery as well.
What are the top 3 industries that you're targeting? Because I feel your project is good. It's very heavy on tech. I'm still trying to understand the customer side, which is my interest, and the security side. But I feel it's too broad. So I'm interested in like the top 3 industries that you'll be focusing on to deliver a solution for.
Of course. To clarify, are you asking more on the top 3 sectors in the financial industry, or what exactly?
No, the financial industry is clear. Like fintech is clear. I'm asking if you're gonna go into other industries as well.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
What's the most immediate one?
Well, the immediate one will definitely be the financial sector. My entire vision will be kind of like to be like the global trade infrastructure, which obviously dealing with supply chain and government, but obviously I can't do everything at once. So my first target will be the financial sector. And surprisingly, when I mentioned like the issues with the banks, this structure could also be implemented for like, let's say, online gambling, as well as even the cannabis industry. And I'm talking about more on the B2B side, because they're all dealing heavily on the cash aspect instead of, sending money digitally. So those are like the other 2 areas as well that looks, that might lean towards as well.
Of all the different potential clients that you could have, where do you have direct experience in the past? I mean, which industry and which part of this work you have experienced yourself?
Mostly in the global trade aspect. So that's the reason why I have a good amount of expertise, especially when dealing with international trade. You're dealing with the complexities of B2B payments. And, to be frank, it hasn't been completely updated for a very long time. We're still using letter of credits, bill of ladings, you name it. So that's one of the reasons that I'm going towards it. And also, just to clarify on Roxanne's question, also the technology could be applied to like medical and other industries, telecommunication. But I do have my partner company who's a VPN that is actually, re-official, so they'll be using our technology for that purpose.
So Jordan, do you want to deliver a live pitch? We saw your video. That was a great video, great interview. Now, if you want to take a moment and pitch us live on what you intend to do here.
Item Bank is a first of its kind global parity valuation engine. And if you're familiar with purchasing power parity, it would give you an idea of what we're doing. Many times, if you're not familiar with it, people have seen a Big Mac. They use a Big Mac to determine exchange rates because there's a number of different ingredients in a Big Mac. And you can see that it costs X amount of money in the United States and a certain amount of money, let's say, in Russia. And you can kind of determine exchange rates, but kind of determine. You don't really determine them. So what we're looking to do is get more accurate relative valuations. But what good are these technologies if the common man can't get basic human needs? Anybody will give up anything for basic human needs because you need them to survive. We categorize at Item Bank basic human needs into 5 categories: food with a long shelf life, basic clothing such as work boots, sneakers, underwear, blue jeans, medical and hygiene supplies, shelter in the form of building supply materials, and also paper goods that we use every day, and plastic goods such as toilet paper. And what we're looking to do is deliver those to the market to make sure everybody has them. The people in certain societies, they can't afford them, but yet they're productive. The societies are productive themselves. And so if they are productive, they should be able to get these different items, but yet at times they can't. And usually it's due to currency issues, the reasons why they can't get them. So how are we going to do this? Is by creating and taking barter and making it a better means of exchange, actually, by opening a retail warehouse that has basic human needs staked to it for other basic human needs, giving them another avenue for trade, so that they have more of an incentive to produce. Because in many countries, and we're talking like Africa or Jamaica, where the project first started, they don't really have cash, but they have other needs in production. Or we have containers now container stores, we call them basically banks, where we can actually make a mobile store, send it to anywhere in the world, and it's filled with a set of basic human needs, which will be especially useful in the case of a flood or natural disaster or whatever it may be. And so producers stake their products to the warehouse. They get a credit. That credit's cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency is redeemable for basic human needs, so it's backed by basic human needs. And we then are able to retrieve the information on those trades and create the valuations. And instead of just using a Big Mac, we're now using a basket of these goods, an index, which will provide a much more accurate scenario of what is going on. So in the case of, again, an actual disaster, let's say charitable organizations in the market come and bring products to that area. But yet we notice that certain products are still skyrocketing in price. Well, we know that there's a shortage of those products there. Or let's say if the cost is going up in just one item, again, it's a shortage. But if the cost is going up on many items, it could be a problem with the currency and the exchange rate. So that's the major use of it, although there'll be so many uses where we're going to commoditize basic human needs, which will allow them to be traded like commodities, like oil and gas and gold are traded.
Got it. So, all right. Thanks. Let's open that up to the advisory board. Any questions for Jordan?
So yeah, Jordan, this is Hassan.
Hello.
Who determines the value for those basic human needs? Or if anything that is being bartered, how that price is set?
prices will be set by the market itself. So it's a free market endeavor. The relative valuations will be determined using like economic calculations like purchasing power parity, artificial intelligence, which can extrapolate the predictive nature of information. So the valuations will be set by the added bank engine itself. Pricing will be set by the market itself.
So if I assume that you have, and I'm trying to just wrap my head around the concept that it's an online marketplace. Anybody can come in, and there are these basic human needs that are kind of a 1 day supplies or 1 week supplies of whatever that those needs are identified, and then they'll be able to barter against that, or they'll be able to bring their own goods and services and offer those and earn in some kind of cryptocurrency that they can then use to get those basic human needs.
So initially there will be an online component, but initially we're actually going to open up either a retail warehouse.
Okay.
Producers will actually physically bring in those goods.
Okay.
Or we're going to put them in container stores to be more nimble, and bring them to areas that it may be difficult to actually open up a store. It's also much cheaper to send a container.
Mm-hmm.
A container of we consider the 50 most basic human needs costs about $55,000, right? So let's say they were. So anyway, to stick to your question, the products will be staked to the warehouse.
Okay.
And the price will be whatever the market is. So if its rice is worth, I don't know, pick a price, that's what we would probably bring it in for on a wholesale basis.
So interesting concept. Now, if I understand this correctly, in a lot of ways, it's like the crypto online 3.0 version of a conventional bartering model to do business. Have you considered, only because I know like dozens of companies, both in Canada and the US, that operate a standard barter model. Would it maybe make sense for you to like partner up with some of these bartering companies that have already got the suppliers and demand in place? What they lack is a platform. Would that make sense?
Well, a couple things. Again, it's not online. We do initially. We're gonna actually have like a store. We're gonna have stores. We call them banks. Item Bank. That's the name of the bank, where these products will be physically deposited.
The next two we have up, we'll have Nikki Murkison and then Max Foxco. Nikki's with us from Marcus, who referred her in, and would love to have you spend a second with us detailing your idea on a blockchain use case you have.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. So I am the founder of PairGap, and PairGap is an innovative platform that connects ideal partners to buy property, making home ownership available and affordable for more people. The problem is increased housing prices and stricter mortgage requirements have made home ownership unattainable for a large segment of the population. In many cities, residents are spending an inordinate share of their income on housing and rents. And rents have increased faster than incomes nationwide. As a result, people are missing out on a key wealth building opportunity. The rise of a shared economy has shifted perceptions around the acquisition of use of assets, and social media has created a need for community. So both of these converge with an idea of co-living. My solution is a shared stake in home ownership. So PairGap puts people in a home they want by connecting ideal partners to buy real estate, co-live, and share in home ownership together. PairGap leverages this shift and provides a technology platform that enables users to co-own and co-live, fundamentally changing the market of one of the largest asset classes. Our approach brings the wealth building opportunity of property ownership within reach for people who can't purchase real estate on their own, providing guidance throughout the entire process. Smart contracts efficiently outline the responsibility of all partners and mitigate the risk associated with shared ownership. We match buyers to maximize their purchasing power and simplify the process by providing contracts that outline all the shared expectations and responsibilities of the users. With blockchain, it will help us to significantly reduce the time and cost involved in closing a transaction, a real estate transaction. It promotes transparency while enabling users to have control over their personal data. It minimizes errors, and it also allows users to sell shares of their ownership if they want out of the transaction.
Okay. Hey, Nikki, nice to meet you. I love the project idea. The only problems that I see, and there are specific problems that I see, are related to the fact that you need an owner matching algorithm, like the ones you'd have for, let's say, a dating app, similarity in that. So this is something that you'd need definitely, because it's easy in theory to put people together. In practice, it's very chaotic, especially if it involves sharing a home and having, you know, ownership over it and even living together. So there's an issue with true compatibility. I do suggest, and this is something that came up during the last call we had, to shorten the pool and the locations, because it's very hard, regulatory-wise. It's very hard to match regulations. There's not a global consensus on real estate. Luckily, we do have some things like, you know, we have specific online signatures that can be used for real estate transactions, which is awesome. But real estate differs from one location to another. So this would be my suggestion. Definitely team up with a team of lawyers that deal with real estate and potentially have some knowledge, at least in theory, on what real estate tokenization is all about. Right now, we're in a state where we just started doing this, and we don't have like the historical data on it to see if it really works out or not. And with smart contracts, it's a bit too early to become legal contracts. Okay, right now, smart contracts, in terms of transactions, they act more like terms and services or terms and conditions, which works great, but don't rely just on this. The technology is a bit too early, and you might have issues in the long run.
Thank you for your feedback. So I do have a team of attorneys that I'm working with, especially when drawing up these co-living agreements. And then it is going to be state by state. So when you want to pair and match in New York, it'll be specific to New York real estate laws, and also with different cities. So it will be specific to the city where you want to purchase. And then the great thing about this platform is that it works without blockchain. But I'm hoping that eventually we can incorporate blockchain technology, since, you know, this is going to be the game changer in real estate. So I'm thinking a little further out. I think you're 100% right. But I really want to be able to learn about it and incorporate it now for those who want to use it and maybe test it. But then also I hope to be my competitors that are doing this now. There's only one in Toronto that's doing something similar. Hopefully they'll be able to get the blockchain technology through my website.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are the top locations that you're looking at for the next, let's say, 2-3 years?
So first launching in mostly high cost cities. So it'd be New York. The next would be DC and LA. Those are the top 3 that I'm going to focus on first. But cities are changing so rapidly, and affordability is becoming more and more difficult, especially in urban areas. So really focusing on urban areas.
Okay, so the first market is the US then?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Nice. Got it. That was a nice sound effect there. It kind of reinforced that. Thank you. Well, let's move on. A lot of good stuff here. We could probably go an hour with each person, but this is sort of rapid round. So let's have Max step up and introduce himself and kind of let us know what you have in mind with your blockchain use case.
Thanks, Jordan. So excited to be here. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, I guess, everybody. My name is Maximilian Fox. I'm one of the founders of JFly. And JFly is a digital logbook platform for pilots. Right now, there is a terrible global pilot shortage. I invite you to Google it after we're done. Pilot shortage in a search engine. You'll see all the articles. The aviation industry is starving for pilots. One of the issues that pilots have is they need to log all of their flights. The only thing that matters for a pilot is how many hours they have. How many hours have you flown at night, how much jet time, etc. When you go to get insurance, when you go to get a job, when you go to brag to your friends, first question is, let me see your logbook. So we've built a digital logbook for pilots that's available now on iOS and Android app stores. What we seek to do is to build a platform to allow employers to easily find pilots. Similar to LinkedIn, as a developer in Silicon Valley, if you have any sort of programming skills, you're getting contacted by recruiters. For pilots, that doesn't make sense because they're as valuable or more valuable to employees. Now, one of the issues that both sides face is that we have a balkanized aviation framework around the world. As a result of that, you can't always trust the flight records of pilots from other countries. And so what that means is it's more difficult to solve this global pilot shortage because you can't always trust the records or experience of a pilot coming from another country. And so we'd seek to solve that with a blockchain. There's plenty of data that's generated from each and every single flight. As of January 1st, 2020, the US FAA will require most flights in the country to use ADS-B, which reports on just about all the information you need. What we seek to do is aggregate data for flights from each of the different data sources that are already available out there, air traffic control, ADS-B, et cetera, and put that on a blockchain. That gives stakeholders around the world, not just employers, but insurance companies, government organizations, et cetera, a independent, trustworthy source for flight information. That means if they need to look up data for an accident, they can trust that data. If they want to hire a pilot from outside of their country to alleviate their pilot shortage, they can trust that data because it's on a blockchain. That also makes pilots' lives easier because we would automate the flight recording process instead of them having to, as they do now, either use their phone and use a poorly designed app or write it down on pen and paper and then email it back and forth when it's requested from them. They now have a platform that automatically gets that information from different data sources, puts it on a blockchain, and so they have a source of their flight experience that everybody trusts, no matter where they are on the planet. Our go-to-market strategy, we're already executing on. We've already reached out to a couple of pilot trade groups. Those include the Association of Black Airline Professionals and the Professional Helicopter Pilots Association of America. They're excited. They're looking forward to beta testing what we want to build. We've also contacted and speak with Republic Airways. Republic Airways is a mid-sized regional airline here in the United States. They're excited. They want all of their incoming pilots to digitize their logbooks. And so to that end, we're currently talking to them to provide transcription services. But they're really excited about having digital log records from pilots coming in, and especially ones that they know they can trust. There are a couple of different flight schools in the Bay Area here I've also spoken with, and they're excited as well. A lot of different flight schools I've spoken to are really excited because they can offer this as a service to their students and explain to them that the employers will have more trust in the flight records that they provide than other people, because it's not pen and paper, it's blockchain.
Yeah. Got it. Max, very well done. Thank you. We'll open that up to the board. Any questions? Sounds like there's interest in beta testing and digital records for all incoming pilots. Any questions on that?
Yeah. Hi, Max. This is David. So if I understand you correctly, the value proposition is that you're providing a trustworthy record of the hours, right? So, and I understand how blockchain can be fundamental in that, but how do you guarantee that there is no fraud in the process? What are some of the steps that you're going to take to guarantee that the hours that are being logged into the blockchain are actual hours that were flown?
Right. So the app that we already have out on our app store currently just uses the GPS sensors in the phone, right? And so the only way to, the only reasonably easy way to make those records is to be in one GPS location at one time and then be in another GPS location another time. And currently the quickest way to do that is by plane, right? And so right now with our application, GPS coordinates are used, GPS coordinates and date time are used to verify where that individual is at those times, both at departure and arrival. In the future, as I said, as the FAA and other government organizations make things like ADS-B mandatory for aircraft, those report not just on the GPS coordinates, but the en route location of an aircraft. So we can grab that. That's publicly available information. Right now, there are several different websites that make air traffic control data available via API. We'd be looking to incorporate that information as well. So what we're really doing is taking data from a couple of different data sources and putting that onto a blockchain for the first time.
Got it.
Thank you.
Max Fox. Thank you, Max.
Yes.
All right. Moving to MegaFans. So Jeff Donnelly with MegaFans, then we'll do Tony with WRF Coin. Jeff, do you want to take a moment and use the floor to explain your idea?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm with MegaFans. Brian and I are with MegaFans, two founders. MegaFans is a mobile games esports engine that enables players to participate in esports tournaments. What that means is that players can download a mobile game that has our SDK integrated into it, and they can, they're invited to tournaments at certain times, they're timed tournaments, and they are able to buy tokens to enter those tournaments currently through the main app stores, Google Play and the iOS App Store. Participate in those tournaments and then redeem those tokens through a portal that we send them to with PayPal. So the mobile esports market, it's a hyper-growth market based on over 3 billion mobile devices currently being used today throughout the world and expanding quickly. Approximately half of those devices are used virtually on a daily basis at some point for mobile gaming, mostly casual gamers. Actually, 55% of those gamers are also female. We're solving several problems. One is mobile games has a huge issue with atrophy. Typically, your average mobile game goes to market, starts getting traction. They do user acquisition campaigns. Within 90 days, they can lose up to 80 or 90% of their active users very quickly. Second is monetization. So currently, some of the monetization models include subscription or buying the game, as well as in-app advertising. And one of the things that our esports engine enables them to do is create a monetization tool. So by offering esports environment, esports games within their games, people are typically attracted to that, and with prize pools, and that increases in-app purchase through the game ecosystem, as well as increases lifetime value of players. That being the tournaments have a fee to enter, and we facilitate those fees. So we've been in market. We actually built a prototype back in 2018, went into some rigorous testing. The team that we brought on board has worked on 2 other mobile esports platforms in the past. And we went into problem-solving mode before we brought it to market. We currently have 2 games that we just finished launching the end of Q1. One's called Jet Jack, the other's called Candy Boo Mania. Both of them have tournament editions. If you go into the Google Play or App Stores, you'll see them. That has a player interface where you can download the game, play for free. You can continue to play the game for free as long as you want. And or we have an intercom system whereby we promote tournaments within the game. So if people are playing the game, they can be invited into tournaments, and that's where they can go in, they can register. We gather their data through email or their mobile device, cell phone, and then participate in the tournaments. We're going live with our first, we've been in test mode, we're going live with our first monetary tournaments on or around June 15th. And we are currently looking for blockchain solutions to solve some of our problems, which are the app stores actually have a limited footprint. And PayPal, which is the current system we're using, also has a limited footprint. Blockchain opens up additional markets or markets that can't currently do in-app purchases through Google or through Apple, as well as some additional markets. We're looking at Samsung and some others. So it opens up additional markets that are current, we're crossing those over with markets that already use a cryptocurrency or have accepted cryptocurrency as a term of payment, and that enables us to be able to offer these tournaments to those markets. So it's also a security issue. So my background is 21 years with iGaming, daily fantasy sports, and mobile games. And I know that when you deal with people's money, that there's sensitivity to that. There's a trust issue that comes along with that. So we need a secure blockchain exchange that is trusted to be able to promote that to the players and let them know that this is a secure place where their money's safe. And so when they go participate in the tournaments, they don't worry about fraud or some type of thievery. So those are 2 issues that we're interested in addressing. One, to expand the global market into markets that aren't currently available to us. And 2 is to build trust on a secure platform using blockchain technology.
Got it. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Let's open that up to the board. Any questions on that? I know when we were deliberating, looking through your pitch video, one question came up on PayPal and, why would it be a blockchain use case? And I think you addressed some of that. So any other questions?
More like a recommendation. Yeah. So you could simply use Bitcoin and do a partnership with one of the hardware wallets like Trezor or iOS Ledger for security. And I think like Bitcoin has the longest years in proving that it's an acceptable alternative to to fiat and to PayPal, or give the user the ability to use a privacy coin like Monero or Dash. And in this case, you need crypto as a payment alternative, and also for tracking and security and potentially partnerships or just attracting the community of the specific crypto. So I think in this sense, why not develop on Bitcoin? Why not use Bitcoin directly?
Absolutely. So to address that, that's the advice that we're seeking currently. So, and that's why I joined this particular group, is to find out those facts and what the possibilities are for us.
Yeah, because I think you basically need 2 types of crypto. You need one that is publicly acceptable and one that is private. So just use a combination of a privacy coin and a public coin like Bitcoin, and then you'd be fine. And then it's up to it's up to you how you attract customers.
So take care away.
Right on. This is Tony Coop here, calling in from Minneapolis. I'm the founder of WARF Coin. WARF is an acronym that stands for Weather, Research, and Forecasting. They're the types of algorithms used by meteorologists to create a weather forecast. So there's a bunch of different kinds, and I want to create a new cryptocurrency that is issued to people that are assisting with that type of weather forecast model. So either you could submit raw data from your backyard from, say, like a weather station, and you could also earn the coin by contributing computing power to analyze air quality forecasts, 1 to 14 day forecasts, how the quality of tap water, how wildfires spread, how the tides and currents in the oceans flow. These are all computed using a lot of energy, but most of the people that are contributing to these types of efforts are doing it because they've been tasked by NOAA, they have to do it, or they're doing it for the local news station. And so people that are contributing to, say, like WeatherBug, there's 250,000 stations across the United States. All of those people contribute that data for free, and they get a warm feeling in their heart that they're contributing to science. But I think that those people should be receiving some kind of reward, and that's what WarfCoin is. People that contribute to weather forecasts earn a cryptocurrency. So I just completed an accelerator program a couple months ago called the Clean Tech Open. Did not get a minimum viable product built, but what that would look like is a new consensus mechanism whereby the set of known raw data is stated, the algorithm to compute that raw data is stated, how the data is filtered, and then the forecast itself. All of those ingredients make a re-verifiable report so that people can double check the forecaster's work and make sure that it was actually accurate. So the reward might not necessarily be distributed upon the completion of the forecast, but when the forecast expires, and so that each forecast can be given an accuracy score, thereby creating a prediction market. So an MVP would be using an API to go to the National Weather Service's website to download their aggregated data sets, have it be crunched through an open source weather model such as the GFS, the Global Forecasting System, and then have the analysis from that weather model updated and posted to a website where people can go and look at their local weather information. So be glad to take any questions if there are any.
Hi, Tony, it's Victoria.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hi. Thank you for the pitch. That's very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit? So I'm hearing that there's sort of like a two-pronged approach. One of them relies on citizen science and the other one on data processing and data management. What do you think is sort of like the percentage of the business, like one versus the other?
So it kind of depends on how I want to utilize the game theory for it. So it is important to have a big chunk of the pie for the raw data collectors. We do have a problem with the data apocalypse. There is more information being collected than can be analyzed, but it's also important to incentivize weather stations out into the rural parts of the world where there is very little on the ground information, like Northern Canada, the Amazon, the Sahara, inland China. There's very little on the ground information there. So I would like to try to be able to drive sensors out into that area. So I would assume like 35 to 45% of the tokens minted per block are going to raw data submitters. And then maybe just over half, 55% to 65% of the tokens being issued per block are going to data analyzers, the people that are turning that raw data set into forecasts. Is that the question you were asking?
Yeah, that's great actually, and it's good to hear that you're thinking about how can we actually gain data from areas that have like a low return on data at the moment. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're actually trying to incentivize those people who live in the areas where there's not a lot of data collection going on and trying to activate those people as citizen scientists.
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. And I think if we were able to get information on the ground, that will also increase the accuracy of medium and long range forecasts for the neighbors that are 5 to 10 days of weather away.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Any other questions out there for me?
Hey, Tony.
Yeah. Hello.
Just a quick question, because I know my ethical hacker in Germany has just built a device by himself to measure air quality in the area. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious about who your customers are. So how are you going to monetize the model that you have? I
Sure.
mean, it's great for governance, you know, like people get the privacy coin earned by contributing, etc. But I'm interested in the monetization model that you have.
Sure. So the monetization is, so there's going to be a basket of forecasts that are produced and provided for free and open source published. Those would be the air quality, the wildfire spread, tides and currents in the ocean. And there could be a bucket of algorithms which are private, and the analysis there has to be paid for. And that might be for the aviation industry. If there's a plane flying from Dallas to Toronto and there's a big thunderstorm in the way, they might need a quick weather forecast to find the most fuel efficient and time-saving route around the thunderstorm. There are services that do that. Potentially, if we have more data, we might be able to provide that faster or more accurately for them. Precision agriculture, I think, could have a lot of customer opportunities. Smart buildings, say if there's, they can use cheaper electricity during off-peak hours to pre-cool or preheat their building based on the weather forecast that's coming in. There might be customer opportunities in that sector. But really, I'd also like to create a hardware branch where I'm creating personal weather stations or other devices optimized to send data into the platform. So that'd be a use case for the currency itself, is that first customers buying hardware from this company have to pay in Wharf coin, and then they can retrieve they'll get the hardware component, which submits raw data into the platform, thereby creating a return on investment for their component. Those are a few of the different revenue models or customer segments that I've been considering.
Okay, so then you have data that would be live and data that would be static, right?
I'm not sure what you mean by static. Like the historical
Static
data set?
Yeah, the historical data sets.
Yep.
Because there's a huge opportunity with historical data sets. Companies that focus on mobility, and as you know, this is an industry that is highly trendable this year and following year, and with 5G coming on, and you know, AI cars and so on. So with the historical data, there's a huge opportunity for prediction models. For example, a couple of years ago, I worked with one of these ride-sharing companies. We used the data in New York, the forecasting data in New York, the historical one, and we compared it against the data on, you know, rides made in New York between year, let's say 1 and 3, and what has happened in between. And then we created a prediction model that, with a 95% confidence interval, if you're familiar, that predicted the time when drivers could make the most of income. And then alternatively, we could suggest them a delivery service or any kind of, you know, food delivery or product delivery in between. And that's a huge market because it costs money. So if you automate that, like with machine learning or just solid predictive models and data scientists, would be a good model of revenue for your company.
Exactly. So that sounds quite a lot like the types of business services that WeatherBug is providing with their weather stations being aggregated. So they get all that data from their 250,000 people across the US, but then they are selling that analysis to haircutting places. Say if the weather's going to be like this and there's this many different sporting events happening in town, we predict that you'll have this large of a staff need or these many customers coming through the door.
Our next steps will be in June. We'll announce our 2019 cohort